Good morning. I am Lois Knight Harrison, and I have the honor of serving as president of the Epsilon Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. I come to you representing the oldest graduate chapter in the state of Maryland and the first graduate chapter in the North Atlantic region in our 100th year of service to the Baltimore community. On behalf of our international president, Dr. Glenda Baskin Glover, the international first vice president and program chairman, Daynette Anthony Reed, the North Atlantic regional director, Mary Bentley Lamar, and all those who serve Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, I bring you greetings. Other chapters serving the Greater Baltimore area include Roz Omega chapter, Upsilon Epsilon Omega chapter, and Psi Phi Omega chapter. Eastern Baltimore County has a new group of members working to establish a chapter called Pearls by the Bay Interest Group. Today, we will be recognizing community partners who have and continue to make significant contributions to uplift, educate, and serve our communities. In the spirit of our founders and the enduring legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., we bring you this event to keep his spirit alive by lifting up community organizations who work daily to strengthen the Baltimore region and affirm our own commitment to service. Again, we thank you for joining us this morning, and we look forward to more opportunities to serve.
My name is Tatiana Owens, and I have the honor of serving as the president of the Alpha Delta chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated at Morgan State University, the oldest undergraduate chapter in the state of Maryland in our 95th year. Alpha Kappa Alpha members of the Greater Baltimore area are excited that you chose to join us today as we honor the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Due to COVID-19 restrictions, we are unable to fellowship together and truly engage in a day on, not a day off. However, it is our hope that today's keynote address and panel discussion will inspire us all to continue to do the work necessary for our communities to thrive. We also have a request of you. Our sorority has a program target called Building Your Economic Legacy, Entrepreneurship, and the Black Dollar 365. Please post your receipt and highlight your brunch purchase from a Black-owned restaurant using the hashtag BeMore, aka Black Dollar, on social media. Again, I thank you for joining us this afternoon and wish you all peace and prosperity.
Good afternoon. My name is Jan Wood Carter, and I am the Vice President and Program Chairman of the Epsilon Omega chapter of the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Today, we are acknowledging 10 community partners who provide extraordinary service to the Greater Baltimore region. Throughout today's event, we will recognize these organizations. They have all received their awards via mail to minimize contact in observance with COVID-19 precautions. It is now my honor to introduce to you the first three honorees. Epsilon Omega Chapter's community partners are My Sister's Place Women's Shelter and the Weinberg Housing and Resource Center. Upsilon Epsilon Omega Chapter partners with the Children's Home. Please continue to watch for more.
Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated Epsilon Omega Chapter is highlighting My Sister's Place Women's Center. Epsilon Omega Chapter has been a partner of My Sister's Place Women's Center for 5 years. During that time, our partnership has included preparing and serving breakfast to their clients, as well as donating clothing and food items. My Sister's Place has served Baltimore City since 1982. Their main objective is to serve as a women's day shelter and resource center for women and children in Baltimore who are experiencing homelessness and poverty. They empower those they serve to overcome their situations through services that include workshops centered on the 8 realms of wellness: emotional, spiritual, intellectual, physical, environmental, and social wellness. My Sister's Place provides a safe haven for women in Baltimore City, a place to receive love and support as they work to overcome their barriers. They are located at 17 West Franklin Street, Baltimore, Maryland, 21201. You can visit their website at catholiccharities/md.org/my-sisters-place. And their phone number is 667-600-3700. We invite you to donate to My Sister's Place Women's Center. They accept donations Mondays through Fridays between the hours of 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. Please note, the only entrance currently open is at 411 Cathedral Street. Amazon Smile is a simple and authentic way for you to support My Sister's Place every time you shop on Amazon at no cost to you. When you shop at smile.amazon.com, you'll find the exact same items for low prices with a vast selection. It's a convenient shopping experience, as simple as amazon.com, with the added bonus that Amazon will donate a portion of the proceeds to My Sister's Place. Just visit smile.amazon.com and click the Amazon Smile tab in the menu and select the option to select a charity. Search for My Sister's Place Women's Center Fund, located in Lutherville, Timonium, Maryland. The wish list for My Sister's Place includes the following items: cereal bars, applesauce, canned soup, canned vegetables, canned fruit, canned tuna, baked beans, mayonnaise, coffee, and coffee creamer. They also would appreciate donations of napkins, cleaning supplies, laundry detergent, dryer sheets, and bleach. We would love for you to shop smile.amazon.com and search My Sister's Place.
Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated Epsilon Omega Chapter is highlighting the Weinberg Housing and Resource Center. Epsilon Omega Chapter has been a partner of the Weinberg Housing and Resource Center for 2 years. During that time, our partnership has included purchasing, preparing, and serving breakfast to their over 275 clients. The Weinberg Housing and Resource Center is a low-barrier emergency shelter that provides homeless services to over 275 adult men and women each night in the city of Baltimore. Their services include shelter, convalescent care, breakfast and dinner, showers, laundry, case management, and a variety of life skills and empowerment classes, with the focused goal of assisting residents in obtaining permanent housing. While their permanent location is at 6020 Falls Way, they are temporarily operating out of the Holiday Inn Hotel in downtown Baltimore due to social distancing, and they are following CDC guidelines. Visit www.catholiccharities-md.org to learn more information about the Weinberg Housing and Resource Center. A call to action. The wish list for the Weinberg Housing and Resource Center includes new or gently used coats for men and women, hats, gloves, and scarves, new belts, new clothing for men and women, socks and underwear for men and women, toiletries, and laundry detergent. They are also in need of housewarming baskets that include the following items: 1 set of twin blankets, 2 bed sheets, a pillow and pillowcase, 1 bath towel, and 1 washcloth, 2 plates, 2 forks, 2 knives, 2 spoons, and 2 cups, 1 pot and 1 pan, 1 shower curtain and 1 set of shower curtain rings, 2 dish towels, 2 oven mitts, 1 pack of hangers, and 10 to 20 cans of boxes of non-perishable food.
Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Upsilon Epsilon Omega Chapter is highlighting the Children's Home. Upsilon Epsilon Omega has been a partner of the Children's Home for over 15 years. During this time, our partnership has included financial support during the COVID-19 pandemic, UEO Cares for You Day, a health awareness event, donations of healthy snacks, and the creation and delivery of personalized essential care kits for female residents in celebration of the UN's International Day of the Girl. The Children's Home has served Baltimore County and Baltimore City since 1863. Their main objective is to provide long and short-term services to youth between the ages of 13 and 21 who've experienced abuse, neglect, violence, abandonment, and/or are in need of supervised care. The Children's Home provides therapeutic programs where children feel secure, loved, and have a sense of belonging. The Children's Home is located at 205 Bloomsbury Avenue in Catonsville, Maryland. You can find them online at www.thechildren'shome.net. A call to action. If you wish to make a financial donation directly to the Children's Home, you can do so by visiting thechildren'shome.net/donate. You can also support the organization through Amazon Smile. Visit smile.amazon.com and choose the Children's Home. In addition, the Children's Home welcomes donations of the following items: new or gently used suitcases, adult-sized clothing, toiletries, and electronics.
Good morning. My name is Shania Brown, and I'm the president of the Tau Theta chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated at Stevenson University. It is my honor to introduce today's keynote speaker. Roslyn M. is a renowned member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated and international chair of the Connection Committee, which focuses on social action and voter engagement. He serves as its chairman emeritus. Brock is employed as Chief Advocacy Officer for Bon Secours Mercy Health, an $8 billion not-for-profit Catholic health care system of providers with 43 hospitals in 7 states and more than 57,000 employees. In this position, she provides system-wide leadership to promote healthcare reform, population-based health, health equity, and social justice initiatives for a vulnerable population to ensure high-quality, affordable, and accessible healthcare for all. Extends globally as she built cross-cultural understanding and professional networks of young leaders in China as a Young Leaders Fellow for 3 years with the National Committee on U.S.-China Relations. Brock's personal philosophy is embodied in an African proverb: care more than others think is wise, risk more than others think is safe, dream more than others think is practical, and expect more than others think is possible. And with that being said, join me in welcoming a powerful word from our keynote speaker, Roslyn M. Brock.
Greetings to our Supreme Basilisk Sora Glenda Glover and to Sora Mary Bentley Lamar, Regional Director from the notable North Atlantic region, to Sora Kalila Harris, Sora Ranisa Chambers, Sora Kendra Brown, and Chapter Basilee of Epsilon Omega, Roz Omega, Upsilon Epsilon Omega, Psi-Phi Omega, the Pearls by the Bay Interest Group, and all who serve Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority in the Greater Baltimore area. It is an honor and privilege to be with you as you conclude a virtual weekend celebrating the founding of our beloved sisterhood, with a focus today on honoring the life, legacy, and impact of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. at this Community Impact Recognition Panel and Brunch. Congratulations to Epsilon Omega, the first chapter established in the North Atlantic region as you celebrate your centennial. Sorors, if you're like me, you are still on an emotional high following an amazing Founders Day weekend. Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority has a proud and rich history of sisterhood and service. I'm certain you will agree that it's a wonderful time to be a member of our beloved sorority as we are poised on the precipice of witnessing an historic inauguration. For 113 years, we have used our collective power and voice through political and social action to strategically impact the quality of life for all mankind, especially African American girls and women. From our founding in 1908 on the campus of Howard University, with a goal to study and help alleviate problems concerning girls and women, to 1913, when our international president Nellie Kwanda wrote a letter to the historic women's suffrage march organizers to ensure the safe participation of Black women, to the mid-1930s and the creation of the Mississippi Health Project that brought national attention to the appalling health outcomes that existed among Southern rural Blacks, to 1965 and the establishment of the Cleveland Job Corps Center that provided residential training, education, and work experience for women, to 2020, when Alpha Kappa Alpha women, through our AKA's LEAD Civic Engagement Initiative, registered more than 250,000 new voters to elect Kamala Devi Harris, the first woman, first African American, Asian, West Indian, and HBCU graduate to become the Vice President of the United States of America. This historic victory would not be possible without the civic engagement and social action initiatives fueled by Black women of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, the NAACP, Divine Nine, Fair Fight, the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights, Black Voter Fund, National Bar Association, and many others who came together to ensure every vote cast would be counted. Sorors, make no mistake about it, Vice President-elect Kamala Harris will become the most powerful woman in the free world. Let that sink in for a few minutes. We did that together. But our work is not done. In addition to the joy and pride we feel in this moment, we're also facing some of our fiercest challenges. We've witnessed a rising tide of white nationalism and supremacy, blatant racism, unbridled hatred, rampant bigotry, and irrational fear. We're all aware of the dangerous and defining times that we're living in as our nation struggles to address an unprecedented global health, economic, and racial pandemic. In these challenging times, I believe we must rededicate ourselves anew to sisterhood and service to all mankind. We can never forget what we've learned from the biblical text found in Ecclesiastes, the 4th chapter, verses 9 through 10, that two are better than one, and if one falls, the other will lift us up. We are our sister's keeper and have a responsibility and an obligation to and for each other. In short, empowered women empower women. And so I commend you for the empowering and impactful work you have done and are doing in the Greater Baltimore community to lift up and support HBCUs, K-12 education, economic legacy, women's health care and wellness initiatives, scholarships for high school and college students, and partnerships with organizations like the Children's Home, Turnaround Inc., House of Ruth, St. Vincent Center, Rebuilding Together, Ladies of Vision Charities, Cultured Pearls of Service, the Fleming Senior Center, Eastside Emergency Family Shelter, and so many, many others. You, sorors, are leading by example, revealing that we must be proactive and not reactive as we connect with citizens and youth in our neighborhoods to build a greater sense of community. Access to higher education, healthcare, economic opportunities, and strong civic communities are hallmarks of our great sorority and linchpins to creating a prosperous society. We must be agents of change and transformation as we empower our beloved community to fight against heightened racial injustice and disparities. Dr. Martin Luther King said, quote, "Never, never be afraid to do what's right, especially if the well-being of a person is at risk." So you may ask the question, what and whose well-being is at stake in this moment? Well, I'm glad you asked. Let me share this with you. Our nation's well-being is at risk. Our well-being and that of our families are at stake. Just look around the length and breadth of our nation. A political divide exists between electoral facts and fiction that threatens our democracy. 50 state capitals are on heightened alert today due to extremist threats. Rising acts of domestic terrorism and assaults are on display in the nation's capital. Staggering and widespread infection rates of COVID-19 due to a failed federal government response. Burdened healthcare systems and weary first responders. Unprecedented unemployment numbers. Growing gaps in access to broadband and technology for students, along with decreased nutrition for the most vulnerable. And an unchecked and unhinged occupant in the White House that our ancestors built. We must speak truth to power, sorors, today and every day in the future, until our voices are heard on issues of expanded economic opportunity, quality public education, health equity, public safety, voting rights, and representation. We must move forward from this place in the legacy of our founders, armed with faith, with courage, with determination and unwavering commitment to sisterhood and of service to all mankind. If you remember nothing else, remember this. Our soror, Coretta Scott King, said, quote, "Struggle is a never-ending process. Freedom is never really won. You earn it and win it in every generation," unquote. So my charge to you is this. Alpha Kappa Alpha women in the Baltimore area continue to lead boldly with excellence as you work with the incoming Biden-Harris administration to build back better. Through our leadership efforts, we will inspire generations of young women to use their voices to work together, to support each other, respect each other, and build each other up. Because when Alpha Kappa Alpha women stand together, and when we work together, you can be assured that incredible things will happen. Can I get a witness? My dear sorors, courage will not skip this generation. Continue to walk in your grace, your excellence, your peace, but most importantly, continue to walk in your power. God bless you all.
Good afternoon. I'm Kalila Harris, the first Vice President and Program Chair of the Psi Phi Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. I'm honored to introduce you to additional community partners we are honoring today. For the past week, we've shared short videos calling on the broader community to act on their behalf through donations of time or talent resources. The next organization I'd like to introduce is Turnaround Inc., who partners with the Upsilon Epsilon Omega chapter. It is also my great pleasure to acknowledge two of my home chapter, Psi Phi Omega's, community partners. They are the Women's Housing Coalition, Inc., and the Greater Gethsemane Ministries. Here they are.
Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Upsilon Epsilon Omega Chapter is highlighting Turnaround Incorporated. Upsilon Epsilon Omega has been a partner of Turnaround Inc. for over 5 years. During that time, our partnership has included UEO Recycling Upcycling Program, which entails recurring donations of toiletries housed in gently used purses and financial support during the COVID-19 pandemic. Turnaround has served Baltimore County since 1978, Their main objective is to service survivors of sexual assault and intimate partner violence in Baltimore County. In 2011, the agency initiated a comprehensive program focused on commercial sexual exploitation, the first of its kind in the state of Maryland. Their mission is to provide counseling and support services to victims of rape, incest, and domestic violence, and to increase community awareness and understanding of these issues. They are located at 8503 LaSalle Road, 2nd floor, Towson, Maryland, 21286, and can be found online at www.turnaroundinc.org/contact us. Financial donations can be made directly online at turnaroundinc.org/donate. You can also support the organization through Amazon Smile. Visit smile.amazon.com, choose Turnaround INC, located in Towson, Maryland, as your charity. Requested items for donation include food, toiletries, and new clothing.
Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Psi Phi Omega Chapter, is highlighting the Women's Housing Coalition Incorporated. Psi Phi Omega has been a partner of the Women's Housing Coalition for 2 years. During that time, our partnership has included donating turkeys during the holidays and raising awareness about housing unstable community members through public forums and events. Since 1980, the Women's Housing Coalition has been serving those experiencing homelessness, specifically individuals with low resources and disabilities, along with their families. In addition to housing, the Women's Housing Coalition services include case management, resident advocacy, and life skills training. Services are tailored to meet the needs of each individual or family and are based on their individual situations and goals. The Women's Housing Coalition provides single-room occupancy housing with on-site services and leases many apartments and houses throughout Baltimore City. Residents pay up to 30% of their income. You can find the Women's Housing Coalition online at womenshousing.org, and you can visit their website to learn more about how you can get involved. Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Psi Phi Omega Chapter, is highlighting Greater Gethsemane Ministries. Psi Phi Omega has been a partner of Greater Gethsemane Ministries for 3 years. During this time, our partnership has included worshiping with the church, making financial contributions, as well as packaging and donating items to serve the surrounding East Baltimore community. Since 1994, Reverend Reginald Thomas has served as the pastor of the Greater Gethsemane Missionary Baptist Church in Baltimore, Maryland. During that time, the church has established over 30 active in-house ministries, and its membership has grown to approximately 1,000 active members. Pastor Thomas has impacted the lives of his congregants as well as the surrounding community. He has acquired a total of 9 properties in the community. Under his leadership, Greater Gethsemane Ministries has been mobilized to go beyond the walls of the church in order to bring people to Jesus by meeting both their spiritual and physical needs, empowering them to break generational strongholds, and equipping them with the information and resources to not just live, but to live more abundantly. You can find Greater Gethsemane Ministries online at greatergmbc.org and support them by donating travel-sized toiletries, products for people who menstruate, and snacks to benefit the community members who are unhoused or housing unstable by purchasing items via the link on the screen.
Greetings and welcome to our Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Service Community Conversation panel. My name is Dr. Nakiya Showell, member and vice president of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Upsilon Epsilon Omega Chapter. I am honored to be the moderator for today's event. Dr. King was a leader who fought tirelessly against injustice and discrimination. He was a staunch advocate for achieving equity and economic opportunity, access to quality education, and in the health and well-being amongst African Americans and the disenfranchised. While progress has been made with respect to the pursuit of equal status in this country, unfortunately, the political unrest, racial injustice, and the inequities that the current COVID-19 pandemic have clearly laid bare has shown us that work is still yet to be done. Today, we have the opportunity to have a dialogue and a solution-oriented conversation about some of the health, educational, economic, and workforce issues that have risen to the surface in the midst of the current pandemic and evolving social climate in America. It is my sincere pleasure to introduce our esteemed conversationalist today. Dr. Roslyn Aker-Black, also known as Dr. Roz, is an award-winning psychologist with over 14 years of experience in providing care to couples, children, and families. She is the Chief Operating Officer for the Goal Grinders Foundation, a nonprofit organization that provides a STEM-focused leadership and entrepreneurial training for at-risk middle and high school girls. Ms. Tracy Jamison is the Director of Articulation and Enrollment Services for the University System of Maryland. She has over 31 years of experience in higher education and has previously worked in several institutions, including the University of Maryland College Park and the University of Baltimore. Finally, Mrs. Natalie Stute is the Chief Resources Officer for Gainwell Technologies, LLC. She has over 20 years of HR experience in several industries, including financial services, retail, and consulting. Thank you all for being with us today. So I want to start our conversation off with a general question for our panelists. You all have dedicated your careers to serving others in various capacities. Through your work and personal experiences, you've witnessed firsthand the significant impact the COVID-19 pandemic has had on the Black community. How have you leveraged your experiences, expertise, and training to better respond to the issues Black communities are currently facing in the midst of the pandemic? And I'd like to start with Dr. Ross.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Now that we're in this virtual world, it's made it particularly much easier to reach the masses. So within that regard, I've been hosting a lot of workshops, Zooms, seminars on social isolation, on vicarious trauma, because as you said, we are absolutely in two pandemics right now, this racial climate that we are experiencing, as well as COVID-19. And so trauma is hitting us from every side, whether we're losing someone in this pandemic to COVID-19 or in this racial climate or know someone, we're all experiencing it as if they are our family members. And so that I have just really been trying to ensure that we are staying connected, that people are getting resources in their community and making sure that they're taking care of themselves, because it's very hard. This social isolation has caused significant issues for all of us, physical ailments, emotional ailments. And so just letting people know that there are resources in their community that they can reach out to and that they do not have to suffer in silence.
Thank you, Roz. Ms. Jamison.
Hi, and thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of today's event. What I see happening is, the COVID situation has basically sort of exacerbated a number of challenges we've had within the community. And if anything, it's forced a number of us that are part of different educational networks and communities to collaborate to utilize our relationships much stronger, so that we can address some of these issues that have always been around, but have been terribly exacerbated because of the coronavirus. And if anything, may allow us to address some of these inefficiencies better. You know, lack of technology, access to education, strong advising, you know, getting students what they need, getting families what they need, understanding just how important the things that we don't see that strongly support the educational experience, students eating, you know, basic needs. And so, you know, in the various segments that I work with, I think we've all relied upon our professional relationships, again, being much stronger and sort of having a greater reach so that we can correct some of these challenges that we're experiencing during this coronavirus and make certain that, you know, we address them now and moving forward, for students and families, and ultimately, you know, for the greater community, greater good of the community.
Excellent, thank you. And from what I'm hearing, Dr. Roz and Ms. Jamison, you both touched on something that was really important. I think we think about a lot of times some of the negative sequelae from the COVID-19 pandemic, but there's a silver lining in all of this, in that we've been able to better reach our community and utilizing existing technology that, you know, we've had prior to the pandemic, and really being able to access our communities in a different, more innovative way. And we've had to strengthen our collaboration and to be able to better reach our community. So I thank both of you for, you know, hitting on some of the positive spins of what we've been experiencing as a community. And I'm interested to hear what Ms. Stute has to say with regards to her experience as someone who works in the HR field and works around workforce development.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for the opportunity to share and to be here with you. Unfortunately, I did come down with COVID-19 about 6 weeks ago. My entire family unfortunately suffered with COVID-19. Prayerfully and thankfully, we all have recovered and are, you know, continuing to work through all the physical issues that we experienced. It is absolutely real. It is no joke. And so I am incredibly grateful and thankful to be here, because as we have been hearing day in, day out, all the unfortunate atrocities that are happening across our community, and those who are burdened with all the different factors from a healthcare perspective, from an access perspective, that it's impacting our community. And so most importantly, our health absolutely has to be our priority as we work through all that's happening. From a professional standpoint, and particularly being head of HR for an organization, we have roughly 8,000 employees with Gainwell Technologies. We're a healthcare technology organization, so it is very real and hits very home in terms of what we're trying to do from a community standpoint. We're basically the backbone of all the Medicaid, Medicare services across every single state across the U.S. So it's incredibly important that we make sure we get access to people who need it. From an employee standpoint, I am very intentional about the resources that we provide our employees from an employee health standpoint, mental health standpoint, making sure that our working parents have the support and the resources that they need, looking at hazard pay opportunities to make sure that for those essential workers who have to come in for whatever reason, we're making sure that we're providing support for them. So from a leadership perspective, we have to make sure that we're supporting our employees across the different ways that they may be impacted on an ongoing basis, because this is going on for quite some time here. It's unfortunately, we're at where we're at, but we have to make sure that we're, from a leadership perspective, we're providing the support for our employees.
Great. Thank you so much, Mrs. Stute. So now we have several questions from our community audience that I want to pose to our panelists. And I want to start with you, Ms. Jamison. And as I'm reading this out, I will preface this by saying, as a pediatrician, I've heard this question posed to me many, many times. And it's a question that some of which you've already touched on. Many of our students and parents have concern about the changing educational climate in this country as a result of the pandemic. So the question is, returning to school and supporting learning at home is a critical issue for students, parents, and guardians. How should parents be thinking about supporting their child's learning, whether or not they're in a virtual environment, hybrid environment, or full return model?
I think one thing that kind of comes to mind is, you know, in some ways it is a new environment. In some ways it's not a new environment. It sort of opened our eyes to some of the needs that we've all probably should have been paying some attention to. Time management, it's a whole new structure. It's a new structure for everyone. Parents are probably being asked to do a little bit more than they've had to do previously, and it's going to be sort of a give and take. And there are stressors there on both sides, and it's sort of a learning experience on both sides, with lesson plans and virtual environment and the technology working or not working. So I think there's the time management piece, and then of course there is that working together, because you may have noticed, especially some of us with kids, a lot of schools have taken class projects, and they're doing the class projects, at school. And now that they don't have the at school moment, they're at home now. So there's more parent time, there's more student time, and there's this balance on getting the classwork done, some of the technology fears parents have, relearning some of the things that we haven't done academically as parents over a while. But I think there's, that both student and parent need to sort of understand this is sort of a new environment. Students can get a better feel for working in, with their parents in a team environment and understanding those stressors. So I really, the way I see it and the way I think some of the academics see it, especially, faculty, is students need to, or teachers, it's a different time management piece. Parents are home and they have to sort of balance that attention to the job and attention to the student and attention to the classwork. So, it's a lesson on both sides on, managing stresses, managing time together, and sort of appreciating that time together, and some self-care with time apart. But, the time management piece is clearly something new that we all have to deal with, second to the technology comfort level that we're all experiencing. I always find it interesting. We sort of shifted seamlessly, but there are a lot of folks that weren't using technology as much. Even children weren't using Zoom categorically as a product. They were using other products. So they were learning that technology where parents kind of thought that they already knew it. And so there's this understanding that this balance on who is where, and then managing that moving forward.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And you touched on a really critical point, in that we can all learn from some of the time management solutions and experiences that we've had during the pandemic. Not just children, it's adults too, and being able to work together in different ways. So I want to go to Dr. Roz for a second, to touch on a little bit of how children are experiencing this pandemic, which is different, which is different from adults. And the question that's come to us from the community is that children sometimes have difficulties expressing themselves. What advice can you give parents as it relates to talking with their children about the pandemic and how they're experiencing the pandemic and related consequences, or just life in general?
This is a great question. And I get this question all the time because parents are like, I don't know what's wrong with my child. And especially if they have teenagers or those preteens, they may ask the question and the kid is like, I'm fine, I'm okay, I don't know. And they get those one kind of answers to their questions. And it's frustrating for parents because they're like, this kid just won't talk, and I don't know how to engage my child. And what I like to encourage parents to actually do is to, find something that your kid is interested in and actually engage their conversation through their interests. So say, for instance, you could have a simple paint night, right? Because sometimes, and especially if they're younger, sometimes our younger babies, they don't know the words to say. They don't know how to say, I'm stressed out, the school is too much, I'm zoomed out. As adults, you have to think about it. We're tired of Zoom. We are over Zoom ourselves. And so they're sitting there and we're asking them to be attentive and to learn the work, and let alone if there are some type of learning issues, attention issues, that's going to be a little bit more difficult for them. So I encourage parents to be patient, have grace, and to absolutely do things such as, a simple idea such as having a paint night, right? And allow your kids to say, hey, paint whatever you want to paint. And you can really look at the themes of what your children paint. They tell you all the time what's on their mind just by their paintings, by how they play. They tell you what they are thinking. So just pay a little attention to that. Or another thing that I like to do is called story time. And that's like really encouraging them, to come up with a sentence to start a story. And then you just go back and forth. And if you have several kids, this is a great opportunity for them to build on the story, because you can still kind of hear and see what they are potentially thinking, even if they don't know how to truly verbalize it. And they may say it in a way that's understandable for their age, but they have the opportunity to, you have the opportunity to get things from them that they may not know how to verbalize. And another thing is don't just ask questions where it ends with yes or no. Encourage them to engage. Tell me a little bit more about that. How did that make you feel? Um, are you worried about your friends? Do you miss your friends? Are you worried about school? How was the work? Is the work a bit too much? Ask them questions where they have to give you full answers, and that will start the engaging conversation process.
Excellent. So what I've heard is parents, tips for you, being patient, and I think we can all learn a bit more patience as well, and really challenging your children to express themselves in different ways. So probing about how they're feeling and not asking closed-ended questions, but really trying to get more of a sense of what they're thinking and not just what they're worried about in terms of themselves, but mentioned Dr. Roz, their friends. And I've often seen children are actually really worried about their parents, because we think when we're hearing about the pandemic, we hear definitely a lot more about the impact on adults. And children definitely can be affected. They're not affected as much as adults, but children, they have a lot of concern and worry around how their parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, other people in the family are doing. And that could be a cause of a lot of stress, and certainly it affect how they're doing in school and how they're coping from day to day. So thank you for sharing that advice. I want to transfer a little bit, change the subject a little bit, and talk to Mrs. Stute about a question that's from our audience, and that pertains to the current economic crisis, job crisis in this country. And it's been quoted that we're experiencing arguably the most inequitable economic and job crisis in modern history. What advice do you have for those who are looking to either enter or re-enter the job market during this time? And specifically, what strategies can one use to make him or herself more marketable in the current job climate?
Great question. I would say first and foremost, have a plan. It's incredibly important to think about as you approach how you want to move forward, to be open to the possibilities as well. So there are a number of things that people can do in terms of looking at how do you invest in yourself in terms of potential certifications, going back to school, looking at different ways to grow your skill set and to refresh your skill set as well. So how do you continue to stay ahead from not only a knowledge standpoint, but also a skill standpoint as well. Also, what is huge is networking. Your relationships are golden. I can't emphasize it enough. Your relationships are golden. So when you leave a job, it is so true that you need to make sure that you are maintaining positive relationships throughout time, because you just never know. Someone may know someone may refer you to someone. I get resumes every day from referrals, from friends, family, colleagues I worked with 10 years ago. You just never know. And so it's also a process of making sure that you're staying in contact with your mentors, identifying mentors who can help you, and also maintaining those relationships as you look at how do you seek out advice, get others' perspectives, and continue to learn about different opportunities, careers. And as you apply for jobs, make sure that they are error-free. Make sure your resumes, if you're not confident in your resume writing ability, hire someone to write your resume so it's professional and it is it's proof that it's presented in such a way that sets you apart from other candidates. And as you're interviewing for jobs, make sure that you're also providing solutions and thinking outside of the box in terms of how you can help that organization or that team. Because organizations are wanting to figure out, okay, how do they grow, get better, or improve at what they're trying to do? So as you think about the opportunities you're interviewing this for, making sure that you're providing those recommendations and thinking creatively about how you can help that organization.
Great, thank you. And you mentioned an excellent point about investing in yourself. And oftentimes we think so much about how we can help other people, and we don't think so much about, we think less about, especially those of us who are in the service-oriented field, we think less about self-care and less about how we can help ourselves get to the next place. With regards to follow up to your statement, with regards to exploring certifications and bolstering your resume, in this more virtual world, how what's your advice in terms of pursuing some of those professional development training and certifications now that everything is virtual?
Yeah, so it really comes down to researching. There are different opportunities as you do, look at what type of opportunities you're looking at. So it could be going back to school, whether it's to finish your undergraduate degree, what have you. LinkedIn Learning is a great resource to consider. Coursera.com is another great opportunity as well. And there are a lot of programs within universities that also provide opportunities for people to, go back and take different opportunities to complete their certifications or coursework. So a lot of it comes down to researching and then also talking to individuals who are in that current field to understand what was their path, what was their journey, and then you can hopefully tailor your experience accordingly as well. So networking and researching goes a long, long way as you figure out what's going to work best for you and your situation.
Excellent. A related question for Ms. Jamison, and you reminded me about how we can better ourselves and how we can put ourselves in the best position for, in this example, for entering the job market. A lot of our high schoolers, in thinking about the next step, thinking about college education, are thinking along the same lines. How, in this environment where opportunities for internships, opportunities for shadowing experiences, for example, are more limited, how can one be prepared? What are some of the alternatives that they can pursue to distinguish themselves from other applicants in the pool as they're thinking about college? So I'd love Ms. Jamison to speak on that for our budding college.
That's a really good question, and I get that question a lot, especially when you're in the college application cycle, and there have been so many challenges to what's typically being used for students to sort of stand out, whether it's trying to find volunteerism or leadership opportunities, or even sort of interactive with other students. And I think, some of what they've been doing for a while. We all know that GoFundMe's and sort of online opportunities with building, certain web pages, or, there's so much that can be done virtually within the community that even the community is already doing. There are internships that are recognizing, how can we alter these positions to be virtual and online so that, we can engage and get people, young people, or, whether it's high school or while they're in college. I mean, the environment is adjusting. Now, that being said, there's also the academic piece, there's the essay piece, there are the components that come to the college application process and standing out. And because there are those opportunities, virtual or otherwise, it's one of those things that if it's available, how have you allowed yourself to be a part? Did you step up to be a leader and create a fund or a drive or a donation effort? I mean, there's so much that can still be done at a safe distance, because the community is really just, in dire need of something. I mean, there's, a little now goes a long way. But even, the academic piece, we know that students have to write essays, or they have to demonstrate their abilities. And, it's okay to share as much as you're comfortable with how you've handled adversity, how you've adjusted, in looking at how students are going to stand out in the application process. what types of classes have they taken, even by taking a leadership type class or doing well in a foreign language. Our institutions are really going to pick apart sort of course choices, and choices students have made during this adversarial situation, because there could be an argument. There's a kid out there that's saying, you know what, this is my doomsday and I'm going to give up. And that's not what we want to see. We want to see how students have stepped up and have worked around this and have become leaders in their own way. And I think leaders in their own way is important, that, we're not telling them to go do this. They're accommodating to the adversity and how they're handling it. So the institutions have to make some adjustment on how they're evaluating students for getting into college. But I think it's one of the things that they want to know: how have students stepped up in those leadership roles and made lemonade out of these lemons, and then how are we going to welcome them to our institutions to continue that leadership growth process.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. And as a follow-up, Ms. Jamison, would you say that the college essay is the place to really dive deeper into students' experiences and how they're setting themselves apart with regards to their leadership opportunities and how they're making lemonade out of lemons? Is that the place where students can express themselves and really try to put themselves forward to the review committee? I get that question a lot. Well, where in the application process should we be talking about our experiences? Where should, in the application, should we be saying, I've been able to do X, Y, and Z. I've been resilient. I've overcome this. My family's experiencing this. So is that the place? Is that the best place where students can discuss some of those issues?
I always say, as comfortable as you are sharing, feel free to share. Institutions, we want to know what types of students are coming to our institutions, but a lot of times the application are twofold. It's to get in the door, as well as perhaps awarding scholarship and monies. And so, as comfortable, that's important, as comfortable as you're sharing. I don't want the message to be, share all of your personal information, because that'll help, but as comfortable as you are sharing your growth process, how you overcame adversity, how we're all overcoming some semblance of adversity, how you see this helped you become a stronger leader. I absolutely encourage that information shared in the essay, because, as we all know, there are very few to no interviews. A lot of institutions just don't have the ability, and let's be frank, campuses are closed, so there are no in-person interviews. That's just that face-to-face interaction is not happening. So where students are able, I strongly encourage sharing as much as you're able. It's like that resume. There's that piece. We use the resume as professionals, but they at this point have their essay. Their resumes might be a little weak with working at the grocery store or DoorDash or something like that. But we want to get to know the student and get a better understanding of who they are and what they face. So as much as they're comfortable sharing, I recommend sharing.
Thank you. Dr. Roz, I want to come back to you. You mentioned earlier in our opening question and discussion about social isolation being one of the more common issues that we're seeing now as a result of the pandemic. Obviously, we're in a virtual world and we're not interacting with each other in the same way as we did before. But based on your experience, what are some of the other more common mental health issues that you're seeing as a result of the pandemic? And particularly as we're thinking, again, being solution-oriented, how do you see things changing this year? And putting the context of recent events in mind, how do you see things changing? How do we move forward in 2021?
Great, excellent question. I do think with the hope of this vaccination coming, that I think that people are having a little hope that we may get back to normal. Now, in saying that, we have to move past the fear of, is this vaccine going to kill us? What is this vaccine going to do? A lot of us are saying, I won't be the first person in line. But I have seen that our community is really stepping up and really getting this vaccination. And so I think people are realizing, like, we have to try something, so I think hope is now kind of being instilled that, okay, if I can be frankly honest, we're moving into another administration, something that we feel like we may be able to trust a little bit more. So things may get back to normal, as normal as it can be. And so I think, in 2021, we may be moving in that direction of having a little hope, of having a little stability, because what I've seen, with this pandemic is that, that the scarcity, so many people have lost their jobs. And these are not, um, I'm talking about our middle class population. I'm talking about people who did the right thing. They went to the right thing, based on what society deems as the right thing. They went to college, they got the degree, they're doing the volunteer work, and now they find themselves in a place with no job. They've been iced out because the truth of the matter is that the reality is that budgets were shattered at jobs during this COVID period. And so people who may have been at their jobs may have thought that they may be retiring from a particular company. They are losing their jobs. And so what I've seen from that is a lot. And I will say this: social media is a blessing and a curse. A lot of what I've seen is that social media is a great way for us to stay connected so we can combat those issues of social isolation. Um, but it's also been a curse because we're doing social comparison. Why is this person why is this person okay? Why is this person not struggling? And then you have, celebrities, I won't say their names, but, sending out messages such as, if this pandemic didn't encourage you to get your hustle on, then it's just not in you. Like, that's not the message that needs to be said, because guess what? People are trying to survive. People are trying to figure out how they're going to pay for their kids, how they're going to pay bills, how they're going to pay their mortgages, their rent, how are they going to feed their children. And sometimes, if you've never been in that situation, it becomes a very overwhelming feat. And not knowing what to do, not knowing where to turn, not knowing how to get resources, or being too ashamed to ask. And that's what I've seen the most. People who have generally been okay have been too ashamed to say, hey, I need help. But what I want to tell the audience today is that asking for help is the bravest thing that you can do for yourself and for your family. Nobody wants to be in a ship that is just consistently sinking and you do nothing. So ask for help, reach out to others, go to the food banks, do not let your pride get in the way, because that pride thing has been problematic for a lot of us. We've let our pride get in the way, and before we know it, everything is out of control and everything is chaotic. And then we don't know where to start. So that's been typically what I've been seeing, throughout this process, because mental health is picked up. Every psychologist, clinician, everyone that I know, we've all been super busy. And so I am happy that our community is recognizing that they do need to reach out for help. But then we still have some who are saying, I'm just going to pray about it and God will make a way. I'm here to tell you that you can do therapy and have faith in God all at the same time. God will not be upset with you for reaching out to a therapist. So I think sometimes we get stuck on that. A lot of people get stuck on this idea that if I'm stressing about it, why worry when I can pray about it and things of that nature. But I think we have to understand that, and if you are in that faith realm, and I'm a Christian, so I'm not, putting anyone down. What I am saying is that if you are in that faith realm, I think you have to understand that God will put people in your life that He's equipped to help you. So don't be afraid to reach out. Do not be afraid to, let that pride go so that you can get the help that you need, because we all can survive this and we need others to help us in surviving this whole ordeal.
Excellent. And thank you for reiterating the message about asking for help. And as hard as it is, especially for those in our community, we have a lot of pride and understandably so. But we as as leaders in our community, us showcasing that message and reiterating that message is really helpful because if individuals or people look at us and they see us asking for help, and it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to seek therapy services. It's okay to ask another family member for help. It's okay to talk to your employer and understand what support services they have. All of that is okay. The more and more that we normalize that type of messaging, I think it's going to be more and more acceptable, particularly among members of our community. So thank you for reiterating that message, Dr. Roz. So I want to switch a little bit to employer support services because I think you touched on, talked about support and leaning on one another. And another source of support, or another source of support we should have support from, is our employer. So Mrs. Stute, as those of us who have been working throughout the pandemic and going into the workplace, there's definitely been obviously a lot of us who are working at home. There's some concern about going back to work if you've been teleworking during this time. Can you talk about some of the trends and how employers are supporting their teams during the pandemic, and any advice that you would have to offer someone who doesn't feel supported by the employer in terms of necessary safety protocols around the pandemic, or feeling supported in general, and understanding that allowing for time to experience the pandemic and allowing for time to take off of work, for example, going to seek mental health services or other necessary medical time. What advice do you feel can you give some of our community members in terms of concerns?
Yeah, thank you. One of the things that we did at our organization was we actually did a survey. So it was 10 questions to understand from employees. What do you need during this time, and how can we as an organization best support you? And the feedback was incredible. And it ranged everything from, as we've been talking about, mental health services, which I have within my family taken advantage of, because I've noticed with my high school sons, I have 4 sons, their motivation is at an all-time low. These are kids who've been used to playing sports every single day, year round. And so I started to notice a change in their attitudes, their mindset, and motivation. So mental health, thank you, Dr. Roz, for mentioning that and reinforcing that, because it is so important that from a mindset perspective, we continue to fuel what we need from a health standpoint, and taking care of ourselves to make sure that we can take care of others. And so we offer a number of, I think it's up to 10 complimentary mental health sessions with therapists, psychologists, psychiatrists, whatever people may need, but providing complimentary sessions for all employees and their family members as well. We also offer telehealth services. We offer a parenting support group so that parents can share, what are your best practices with helping your children with certain classes. We offer tutoring service as well. We partnered with a number of vendors to provide discounts so that parents can hire tutors, whether it's 20, 30, sometimes 50% off their regular pricing, so that from a package standpoint, we're providing those sources. Again, I mentioned hazard pay as well, but then also team engagement. Because we're on Zoom, we are isolated, we are not working and interacting together, finding ways that we can provide fun and engaging ways to bring people together. So last summer we had various sessions where we had employees, where we provided garden kits where employees and their families could create gardens real time, and working through that over the summer months. And so it's finding different ways that are engaging, fun. We're thinking about our employees and what they may need, and just helping them along the way. So it's absolutely a journey, and just trying to find different ways to be creative to help our people.
Excellent, thank you. And thank you for sharing those examples. I think a lot of the examples that you shared are some awesome strategies that some employers could about utilizing. And I love the idea of surveying the workforce and asking them what they think they need, and want more. And I love the family-based approach that you mentioned, parenting classes, having an environment that encourages your employees to seek services as needed, including taking care of yourself. Because if you're not taking care of yourself, you can't take care of others. So thank you for sharing those examples. Those were really, really helpful and insightful. So we are unfortunately nearing the end of our panel already. Our conversation has been so engaging that the time has flown by immensely. And I know we've spoken a lot about some of the most pressing issues that are affecting our community and how we start thinking about how to address such issues. And I think I speak for many of our audience, our community members, and asking, where do we go next with respect to how we as a community, as a people, address these pandemic-related consequences? And specifically, I would love to hear to close out from each of our panelists, based on your respective areas of expertise, what do you think? In terms of a strategy? What strategy do you think has the most promise? The most promise in lessening the impact of COVID-19 within the Black community? We know we have a lot of work to do, but we've already talked about a wonderful foundation that we can use and move forward. And I would love to hear to close out from each of the panelists to talk about, what do you think has the most promise in terms of us moving forward? And I'll start with Ms. Jamison.
Thanks. Just, the first thing that came to my mind as you were speaking was continued collaboration. I know within the various segments in education in the state of Maryland, I know with the audiences that I work with, whether it's faculty or administrators, we have pulled together in ways we've never worked together before in order to address, again, COVID-related situations, but some of these things that we've been working with and dealing with, and challenges that have existed before the pandemic. And so I am strongly encouraged by how we've worked together collaboratively, how institutions here in Maryland and across the country have stopped looking at each other as competing entities and looking out for the best interest of students, as well as their staff. There's some things we have to remember, from the housekeeper to the president, and how we care for how we care and serve those folks that work on behalf of our students. But I'm hopeful for continued collaboration and addressing these challenges, whether they're financial or academic, or making certain students are on the right track, because never before has it been more important that we get those students that opt for a higher education, that we get them in and out. So we need to collaborate, continued communication, continued networking, so that the bridges that we've built, we continue to walk upon beyond the pandemic.
Awesome, I love it. Continued collaboration. Thank you, Mrs. Stute.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'd say education and awareness are incredibly important. One of the things we've also done from an employer standpoint is we have monthly sessions with psychologists, with medical doctors, to talk about questions employees have. Just the more you're informed, the more hopefully people feel a comfort level in what's happening, what may be coming. And so we're trying to make sure that we stay ahead as much as we know, as we continue to learn and help share that information with our employees. And so, with the vaccination, as I continue to learn more, it's one of the main things that will get us out of this pandemic. And so how do we make sure that we're informing our communities and our employees about what this could mean? And so thinking about that in a holistic way across the different strategies that we have in place, is education and awareness is big.
Awesome, thank you. And finally, Dr. Roz.
No, I think that's great what both of you have said, education and awareness, but also I like to counter with this in regards to mental health. We have to not be in denial about what we are experiencing. We have to have very open, honest moments with ourselves that we are not functioning the same way that we used to. And how is that affecting everything around us? And once we have those honest moments, then it's easier for you to say, you know what? Maybe I do need to speak with someone. And so I encourage people to be open and honest about what you are experiencing and what you are feeling. And if it does not feel right to you, don't just write that off as I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. And because you didn't. You woke up on the same side of the bed you've been waking up on every single day. And if this is occurring more than, you know, if this is occurring for over 2 weeks and you're having that type of feeling, that's a clear indication to not be in denial and to say, hey, you know what? Maybe I should reach out and just talk to someone. And I do want to leave this resource, and this is for anyone. You can dial 211 in any city across America to receive local resources in your community. So if you need a food bank, if you need social services such as, you know, help with paying your utilities, help with paying your rent, you can dial 211 in any city across America, and you can find local resources in your community.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Roz, for sharing that resource and for all of you for sharing an amazing plethora of resources. And just to summarize what I've heard you all say, particularly in our closing discussion, information sharing is important. Having transparent conversations with your employees, members of the community, your families, about how you're experiencing the pandemic, about what resources you need, and not to be afraid of asking for help. Continued collaboration. I agree. I think that is just across many different sectors. I think that's going to be critical. We cannot, once the pandemic, and feel optimistic that it will be over, we cannot stop, all the gains that we've been able to accomplish because of the pandemic, the silver linings. And a lot of that has been increased collaboration and increased networking. We have to continue that. And it's really, really important to move forward. So I want to thank all of our amazing panelists, experts, and members of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated for being with us today. This has been an amazing and engaging conversation. Personally, I've gleaned a lot from what has been said, and I know a lot of our community audience has as well. And I want to say again, thank you on behalf of the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated members of the Greater Baltimore area for sharing your incredible wisdom and resources with us today. Again, my name is Dr. Nakiya Showell, and I want to thank you all for listening in on this great discussion to celebrate this National Day of Service in honor of the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King. We hope you enjoy the rest of the program.
Hello again, friends. My name is Shakitha Jeffries, and I'm the Vice President and Program Chairman of the Pearls by the Bay Interest Group of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Today, I'm going to acknowledge two of the community partners of the Roz Omega chapter, the Franciscan Center and the Immigration Outreach Center. In addition, it is my privilege to introduce Pearls by the Bay's community partners, the Fleming Senior Center and the Eastside Family Resource Center. Enjoy!
Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Roz Omega chapter, is highlighting the Franciscan Center of Baltimore. Roz Omega has been a partner of the Franciscan Center for 4 years. During this time, our partnership has included donations of clothing, coats, personal hygiene items, and shoes. He has served food to the community, aided with teaching classes, and providing programming for their Martin Luther King Jr. Day activities. The Franciscan Center has served Baltimore since 1968. Their main objective is to offer a continuum of care that includes food, clothing, emergency health services, counseling, and technology training to help clients become as self-sufficient as possible. The Franciscan Center is located at 101 West 23rd Street, Baltimore, Maryland. You can visit their website at https://fcbmore.org. Call to action. The Franciscan Center appreciates monetary donations to help fund the most critical needs of their clients during the pandemic. You can make your donation directly online. The Franciscan Center is also accepting donations of personal hygiene products such as soap, deodorant, toothpaste, lotion, foot powder, shampoo, disposable razors, disposable diapers, feminine products, washcloths, as well as bath and hand towels. The Franciscan Center accepts donations Monday through Friday between the hours of 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. No appointment is necessary. Please ring the doorbell at their 23rd Street entrance. For more information, call 410-467-5340, extension 113. Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Roz Omega Chapter, is highlighting the Immigration Outreach Center at the St. Matthew Catholic Church. Roz Omega has been a partner of the Immigration Outreach Center for 3 years. During this time, our partnership has included assistance to immigrants from over 35 countries. St. Matthew is actively involved in community social action, as well as international support for various causes throughout the world. They have served Baltimore City since 1949. The main objective of the Immigration Outreach Center is to provide a wide range of referral assistance in matters relating to adjustment of status, citizenship, political asylum, social services, education, employment, housing, financial assistance, and healthcare. The Immigration Outreach Center is located at 5401 Loch Raven Boulevard, Baltimore, Maryland. Visit them online at https://www.ioscbaltimore.org. Call to action. The Immigration Outreach Center has opportunities for volunteers. Additionally, in emergencies and times of crisis, immigrants are at an especially high risk of falling through the cracks. Please consider donating to the IOSC's Emergency Relief Fund to help immigrant individuals and families who are being hit economically by COVID-19.
Pearls by the Bay, an official interest group of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, is highlighting the Fleming Senior Center, which is located in the historic African American community of Turner Station. Ms. Cynthia Mingo, the center's director, has been a critical community partner through the years as members began researching the idea to formulate a new chapter dedicated to serving Eastern Baltimore County. Ms. Mingo provided one of the first letters of support for our application to become an official interest group, and since that time, our partnership has included volunteering for various exciting programs and activities the Fleming Senior Center provides to its members. We have also provided donations to the center for the senior citizens and children who participate in intergenerational programming. Examples include providing senior wellness care packages, Easter baskets, back-to-school supplies, and holiday care packages. Most recently, due to the pandemic, we pivoted our support to a virtual format by co-sponsoring a senior buddy program where soror volunteers and others contact senior citizen members of the center that are homebound due to the pandemic. The center received its current name in 1979 while located in the Fleming Elementary School. The center later reopened at Pittsburgh and Main Street after the Fleming Community Building was renovated. To this day, Fleming Senior Center continues to provide valuable services to the Turner Station community. They are located at 641 Main Street in Dundalk. You can find them online by visiting Baltimore County Government's website https://www.baltimorecountymd.gov. A call to action. We're asking the community to support the Fleming Senior Center by donating the following items to support their virtual programming for their seniors, the center's intergenerational program, their caregivers, as well as participants of the Senior Buddy program. You can check out their wish list on Amazon by visiting the link on the screen. Pearls by the Bay, an official interest group of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, is highlighting the East Side Family Emergency Shelter located in Rosedale, Maryland. Ms. April Stevens, the shelter's volunteer coordinator, is an important community advocate for homeless families in Baltimore County. Upon meeting her almost 6 years ago, it was clear how important the need was for a facility like this in Baltimore County. It is the only family homeless shelter in our county, allowing homeless families to remain intact under one roof. Ms. Stevens provided one of the first letters of support for our application to become an official interest group based on the need for dedicated volunteers to support the needy families they serve. Our partnership has included volunteering for various programs such as the AKA Pink Goes Red Wellness Fair in 2020, where almost 100 residents participated in a full day of free health screenings, cardio fitness classes for parents and children, healthy food demonstrations, and a guest speaker from the American Heart Association discussing the importance of heart health. We have also provided donations to the shelter for family members for Mother's Day, Father's Day, back to school, and Christmas. Most recently, due to the pandemic, we provided our initial virtual training for residents to learn about the importance of goal setting. The Community Assistance Network operates 2 of Baltimore County's largest homeless shelters, and the East Side Family Emergency Shelter is one of them. CAN's purpose in operating the shelters is to provide a safe, clean, supportive community to help stabilize individuals experiencing homelessness in Baltimore County by promoting self-worth, encouraging personal responsibility, and providing linkages to community resources. In February 1990, CAN opened Baltimore County's 2 freezing weather shelters. The shelters operated from November through April during the years 1990 through 2001. In 2003, CAN's homeless shelters partnered with Baltimore County to extend the vision of freezing weather shelters into an overnight emergency shelter program with the intent to eventually operate them year-round. This included both the Eastside Family Emergency Shelter, a 238-bed facility located in Rosedale, and the Westside Men's Emergency Shelter, a 154-bed facility located in Catonsville. The Eastside Family Emergency Shelter has moved a short distance from Essex to Rosedale and expanded their capacity to 150 family and single women beds, 50 men, and 38 in transitional housing as compared to their previous 125. The Eastside Family Emergency Shelter is located at 9100 Franklin Square Drive in Rosedale, Maryland. You can visit them online at www.canconnects.org/homeless-shelters-housing-programs. A call to action. We're asking the community to support the Eastside Family Emergency Shelter by donating items to support their residents. You can find their Amazon wish list by visiting the link on the screen.
Good afternoon. My name is Brandy Dupree, and I have the honor of serving as president of the Upsilon Gamma chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated at McDaniel College. Please join me one final time in congratulating the community partners honored today who selflessly serve the Greater Baltimore area. Special thanks to Roslyn Brock for inspiring us and giving a charge to collectively continue the work of our ancestors. Let's not allow Dr. King's legacy to fade away. Thank you to our moderator and panelists for sharing critical information regarding COVID-19, how it's impacting our communities, and the roles we can play to flatten the curve. As you go forward from here, please remember to wear your mask, social distance, and wash your hands.
Good afternoon. I'm Kendra Brown, and I have the distinct honor of serving as the president of Upsilon Epsilon Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. We have been serving the Greater Baltimore region since 1994 in Baltimore County. We would be remiss if we did not recognize the Sisterhood and Service Weekend Steering Committee and the subcommittee members for their efforts in coordinating today's program. Thank you all for a job well done. Before we go, I have one final ask of you. As a reminder, please continue to show your support of the sororities program, building your economic legacy, entrepreneurship, and the Black Dollar 365 by posting your receipt or highlighting your brunch purchase from a Black-owned restaurant using the hashtag #BeMore, aka Black Dollar, on social media. Thank you again for joining us this afternoon. I hope you leave this space refreshed and with a rejuvenated purpose to serve in your own way. Have a great day and God bless.